everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cruising Israel. I'm your host, Natalie.
And I'm Max.
You know, Max, we haven't been to Jerusalem in quite a while, I think.
It's true, we filmed a lot of stuff there, but it always seems like we're only kind of scraping the very top. We haven't gotten to all the many other things beneath.
There's so much to do there. We could just go on and on. Anyway, there is a Kikar Musica, which is the music square, which they opened recently.
Okay.
It's extremely innovative. There's live performances and restaurants, galleries, cafes, and even a music museum.
A music museum? What kind of music do they have at the museum?
Well, it showcases a bunch of instruments from all over the world.
So the music square is a bunch of different things. It sounds like there's a museum, they're doing live music. What else is going on there?
Well, I'm sure you're going to be hungry after that, so we'll even grab something to eat.
Oh, they got something to eat there too?
Uh-huh.
Cool, let's check it out.
Place all in one. Let's go. Here we are in Kikar Musica, the only music square in downtown Jerusalem where people can enjoy live music and all different styles of music every single day. Live music has the power to bring people together, uniting individuals from all backgrounds regardless of race, religion, or nationality. And this spirit of unity is exactly what inspired the Music Square.
If you'll stand here at night, you'll see the plaza full of people eating and listening to live music and hopefully getting a bit closer one to each other, and that's the goal behind all of this project.
The Music Square features galleries, cafes, and an awesome music museum where we'll go on a historical and musical journey. The museum is divided in several different exhibition spaces. Do you organize them in any particular way?
So 7 rooms in the museum, each room represents a different region around the world according to the Jewish story.
The Jewish people were spread around the world 2,500 years ago, absorbing cultural aspects of the various places they once lived.
We have here some cool instruments. One of them, let's take this one. This is the karnai. A karnai comes from Bukhara. You use it like this.
This Bukharian instrument is mainly used at bar and bat mitzvahs. So anybody's allowed to just take the instrument and start playing it?
It can be a very boring tour if we will only explain. But once we go and we take the instruments and we say, yeah, use it. It gives, yes, of course.
That was a fail.
Exactly.
That's music?
So that's what we do in the tours.
I mean, it's a music museum. You have to hear the music.
Another cool instrument that we have will be the Persian santur. This santur is the great-grandfather of the piano. Today when you play a piano, whenever you hit the chords, the hammer at the back will hit a different chord. And here we have 2 sticks, 72 different chords, and this is how you play. This is just an amazing instrument that anyone can try to play. Do you want to try?
Yes, for sure. I'm not a very musical person myself, but I'm gonna try. It's a beautiful sound, so it makes it easy, you know.
So from Central Asia, let's move to Morocco and Andalusia.
Wow, this is an absolutely beautiful room, stunning. I love the decor and the furnishings. Tell me about it.
So we went to Morocco and we went to the king's workshop. We hired the workers. All of this room, everything that you see is handwork, made in Morocco.
The mosaic tiles, the lamps, and even the doorknobs were all specially imported from Morocco for the Music Museum. I really love the Moroccan style. Is this how everyone's house looks in Morocco?
Probably the rich people. This is an expensive room.
Okay, let's look at the instruments.
So let's go to the familiar instrument that you see around the world will be the castañeta. It started as handcuffs on prisoners. That's how in the Sahara Desert. They used to bang the handcuffs and play the music. Later, it evolved to this.
The ones we see today are miniature, right? And it's on
It's
each
the
hand?
evolution of an instrument.
As we toured around the museum, we heard lots of new sounds. So wait, what happens when it runs out of air? You have to just...
You actually, like a bagpipe, like the Scottish bagpipe, you blow all the time and you press on it.
Here we are in the African room. Time to make some music. When you put on the headphones, you can hear African tribal music with the rhythmic sound of traditional drums.
Welcome to Europe.
To Europe.
Our European room has all the variety from the European music, from Eastern Europe to Western Europe.
This is where, I think Europe is where klezmer music was originated.
Exactly. Klezmer music starts in Eastern Europe as gypsy music, later moves into Jewish music. And the heart of the instruments of that music will be the instruments that we have here. It will be the clarinet, not the same as the Turkish one. It will be the flute. It will be the different trombone.
Tell me about these two Hasidic dudes we have on our right.
The Hasidic music play the klezmer music. Not a lot of people know, like you knew, that klezmer music comes from Eastern Europe. That's why we put them here with the cello and the clarinet to show the main instruments of the klezmer music, how it used to be played. This is the coolest room in the museum because here we have a virtual reality model of the Second Temple. The temple was the heart of the Jewish nation and also the music center where the Levites used to play all the instruments.
I love the combination between history and high tech. So this should be cool.
That's Israel.
Ooh! Here's the holiest of holies. Second Temple. Wow. Ooh, we're walking up. Wow. So big. Wow, I was just lost in that. It was so cool.
Cool, right?
You learn about the temple your whole life, and with this virtual reality, you could actually see it. After learning about all the instruments in the museum, it really worked up my appetite, but luckily here at the Music Square, we could choose from not one, but 6 restaurants. I think we'll go for restaurant Quintos Bucky, which means violin at the square. This high-end grill bar is the latest addition to a growing list of elegant kosher restaurants in Jerusalem. The restaurant specializes in tasteful fusion meat dishes, which happens to be every carnivore's dream.
The hamburger is the best hamburger I've ever had. The texture is good, the taste is good, it's hot.
Food here is really wonderful, and it's a magnificent place. It's a wonderful place to eat indoors and outdoors, the music and the restaurants in the area. It's beautiful.
The kitchen is run by Chef Kobe, who regained his reputation working at renowned restaurants in Melbourne, Australia, later bringing his talents back to Israel.
What we're doing here is lots of meat on the grill. We're doing Texan-style barbecue.
The food that we know and love is made with the highest of quality ingredients, featuring a variety of meats smoked overnight in a special charcoal oven called the Jasper.
This oven is come from Spain. It's a Spanish design. It's made out of heavy steel and it's keep the heat inside. Here we fill it up with charcoal and we let it burn. It's reached to 500 degrees.
While meat is certainly the restaurant's specialty, vegetarians and fish lovers will find what they want. And their bread is baked fresh right in the dining room.
Bread is so crusty on the outside and soft and chewy on the inside, and to dip it in the trina or with the olives, it's just, there's nothing like it.
We import this oven from Italy. It's called Tabun. What we're doing here is a fresh focaccia bread.
All the bread is made here fresh daily?
All the bread is made here fresh daily.
So what are you going to make for us?
I'm going to make for you a fillet steak. How about that?
Fancy. We love filet.
So here we have gratin dauphinois. It's layers of potatoes and herbs. It complements the beef very well. We cut the filet mignon, which is the middle part of the fillet. How do you like your steak, by the way? I recommend to have this piece of meat medium rare to medium, max.
I like the meat when it's medium. So what is this?
This is a red wine sauce. What we're doing is we're reducing a beef stock, yeah, and we're adding red wine.
Kobe opened the restaurant with a vision to bring something new to Jerusalem.
What we do here is very unique. We're dealing with the meat from scratch. Like we're getting quarter of a cow and quarter of a lamb, and we butcher it here, and we aged it here, and we do all a lot. We do it all here in the restaurant.
Now it's time to try the filet mignon, cooked to perfection and topped with a delicious sauce. So for anyone who loves meat, restaurant Quintos Bakikar is like music to your ears. Max, I told you that place was awesome. How was that filet steak?
The steak was delicious, and I really enjoyed
every bite.
Well, my favorite part was watching you try to play the instruments, personally. But you know, hey.
I said I'm not such a musical person, but it was fun.
You did give us a pretty fun demonstration of that right there in the museum.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that we got a chance to try some of the instruments. Not everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that that's done, how about we go a little bit further into the history of Israel's independence, which we've covered many times on the show.
We definitely have.
But never from the Rabine Center, which is a really cool museum right here in Tel Aviv. They've really put on display a lot of aspects of his life, but also the way that they relate to the history of the country as well.
You know what, Max? These things always interest me, how the establishment of the state, came to be. So let's head there now.
I think you'll like it. It's a really cool museum.
Okay.
Let's go.
I trust you. For anyone out there who wants to expand their knowledge on how this country came to be the modern nation it is today, the Rabine Center is the place to do it. A leader who stood side by side with Israel and experienced it all, the ups and downs from independence into statehood, tested in times of both war and peace. One place commemorates it all, guiding visitors through the history up until his untimely assassination. Today we're going to explore the life and legacy of the late Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and his relation to the State of Israel. The tour begins with a journey through time, starting way back in 1922, the year Yitzhak Rabin was born in the city of Jerusalem.
In 1941, Yitzhak Rabin joined the Palmach and began his military career that will end only 27 years later, after he will end his term as the Chief of General Staff of the IDF. So, one of the most important exhibits we have in the museum are these big red dilemma flags. Each one of the dilemma flags tells the story of different dilemmas inside the Israeli society. As an example, in this dilemma flag you can see what was the dilemma in 1937, what should be the Jewish reaction to the Arab revolt. The Arabs were much stronger with more weapons. On the other hand, the Jews can't hold themselves. If someone is attacking you, you must attack back, you must defend yourself.
The Arab leaders joined forces in a violent protest, later known as the Arab Revolt, which went on for 3 years. Terrorist attacks began against the Jewish and the British, including ongoing attacks on Jewish settlements.
This raised a huge dilemma inside the Jewish leadership back then, and also today. Should we attack back? Should we restrain our force? What should we do?
While many Jews fought back, others were figuring out how to build a country from scratch, negotiating with British, setting up institutions, and strengthening the organization.
After the Arab revolt, the British tried to find a way how to solve the problem here in Israel. They say we should take the land of Israel and divide it to an Arab state and a Jewish state.
On November 29, 1947, the UN voted to divide the entire territory into 2 states, a Jewish state alongside an Arab state.
The reactions were mixed. Its borders are very problematic because in time of war, an Arab army can easily divide the country by 3. On the other hand, David McGuinn told everyone, no. Because if the world is giving us a state, we must accept this. Haj Amir al-Husseini, who was the Palestinian leader, he was in exile in Cairo, rejected the partition plan, and one day after the vote in the UN, a Jewish bus that drove from Netanya to Jerusalem got ambushed next to where today is the Ben Gurion airport, and 5 Jews were murdered. This act of violence was the beginning of the War of Independence that will last a year and a half.
Now, this was a time where there was absolutely no military group organized.
No, they had to build the army practically from
themselves.
scratch.
A lot of the civilians volunteered, did it themselves.
Yes.
All of the Israeli underground militia groups, such as the Palmach, Etzel, and the Haganah, had to form a united army to defend the new nation. So where was Rabine at this time?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. During the War of Independence, Yitzhak Rabin filled 2 main positions. At the beginning of the war, he was the commander of the Harel Brigade, Chativat Harel, which fought over the way to Jerusalem. Here you can see some of its vehicle.
Right before the outbreak of the Independence War, Yitzhak Rabin realized the only option for him was to stay in the military, fighting for his country. A lot of these people had no choice. Even if they wanted to pursue their dream, they had to protect themselves, their family, their neighbors.
The reality in Israel, because of the threats, because of the war, left no other option other than to fight for their lives, literally. So after Yitzhak Rabin decided to stay in the army, his main achievement was, of course, becoming the Chief of General Staff of the IDF. He became the Chief of General Staff in 1964, and of course his main achievement was leading the army to the 6-day war. On May 15, 1967, as Yitzhak Rabin, who was the Chief of General Staff, was sitting and watching the military day parade marching, he received a report from one of his officers saying that Gamal Abdel Nasser, the president of Egypt, had ordered the Egyptian army to invade the Sinai Peninsula. He was practically threatening war against Israel.
A sense of fear dominated Israeli society, as at the time Egypt had the biggest army in the entire Middle East and held an alliance with Syria and Jordan. Many people lost hope and thought the dream of the state of Israel would come to an end.
We must remember, back then, 1 out of 4 people living here was an Holocaust survivor. So they saw it is possible to destroy a nation, to destroy people, to practically eliminate, delete an entire people.
As the Chief of General Staff, Rabin was one of the few who always held his faith in the new country's ability to win the war.
He felt like the entire security of Israel is on his shoulders.
Rabin believed in order to win, Israeli forces must catch the enemy by surprise and swiftly destroy their air force. But not all agreed with the strategic move.
The government postponed the decision to fight, and Yitzhak Rabin found himself, on one hand, he had to do what the government told him. On the other hand, he knew that the right thing was to attack. And on June 5th, 1967, also Levi Eshkol understood that there is no other option other than to begin the war. He gave the order, and in an amazing military operation, the Israeli Air Force succeeded to catch all of the Arab Air Forces as they were down on the ground. So after the Yom Kippur War, the Israeli public was in a huge trauma. Though Israel won the war on the field of battle, the price of this victory was enormously high. And practically the only one capable of filling the position of the Prime Minister was Yitzhak Rabin.
So in 1974, Rabin became the 5th Prime Minister of Israel. His big achievement was setting the foundation to what later on would become the first peace agreement of Israel with Egypt.
He built his agenda by trying to negotiate for peace with all of the Arab countries surrounding Israel. In 1993, he signed the first Oslo Accord. 1994, he signed the peace agreement with Jordan. 1995, he signed the second Oslo Accord that was supposed to lead the way to the end of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Although his incentive was peace, a lot of people opposed him, which included both Jews and Palestinians alike. The resulting animosity culminated in suicide bombings.
The demonstrations against Rabin became more and more difficult, and they escalated more and more until some of them became practically incitement against Rabin. In this picture you can see it's saying the traitor with a target sign over Yitzhak Rabin's head. In this graffiti it said Mavet LeRabin, death to Rabin.
And you would see this all around the country?
All around Israel.
On the night of November 4th, 1995, Rabine was assassinated in a terrible act of violence at a rally to support the ongoing peace efforts. His final words were words of peace as he sang the song Shir HaShalom on stage along with fellow peace supporters. On display at the museum is the lyric sheet Rabine had rolled up and placed in his pocket after his appearance. Today, it's still stained with his blood.
In this room, we tried to show what was the atmosphere right after the assassination. Here in Israel, no one believed there is a chance that someone would do such a horrible thing, and right after it, everyone was in shock.
The tour ends in the darkest place in the museum, and perhaps in Israeli history. The museum provides an engaging, emotional, and interactive experience, and is sure to impress any visitor. Each year, thousands of Israelis come to commemorate the legacy of Rabine at the site of his memorial. The museum also showcases Rabine's personal belongings from his apartment in Tel Aviv. His living room, including the couch, his bookcase, and his television, have been preserved as he left them. The TV plays a tape of the soccer game Rabine watched before leaving for the rally where he was assassinated.
Well, that's it for us this week, folks. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Cruising Israel. We couldn't be prouder to have you with us.
And don't forget to catch us next time as we cruise the country and show you the best Israel has to offer.
Bye.